Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day and getting your questions in for our mailbag from our loyal subscribers. We start off with this one coming in from Cleanthus. Is this supposed to trip me up? Is this like a fake account that's supposed to make me say something that I don't want to? Cleanthus Scarlatitis. Hopefully I pronounced that right. Love the pup as a profile picture as well. My big dog guy. Will Giannis win another title with Khris Middleton, or do the Bucks need to trade him? I think Middleton is a perfect player alongside Giannis. Frankly, I was looking at, on the Lakers report, some future 2023 free agents. I think Khris Middleton alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis would be a really good side option. Now, on the Lakers, with that roster, he would be like a number 3 guy. On the Bucks, he's about the number 2, but some nights Jrue Holiday will fulfill that role. Don't trade away Khris Middleton. He has a lot of value as a guy who hits shots with varying degrees of difficulty. Gilligan, how do you feel about Milwaukee sending Grayson Allen and a second rounder to Detroit for Alec Burks? Yeah, Grayson Allen is more of a spot shooter. And at moments last year for Milwaukee, he was pretty good. Did not play well in moments in that series against the Boston Celtics. And in fact, I thought that during some of those Grayson Allen minutes, the Celtics were trying to hunt him, especially as a defender. Now, Alec Burks isn't a good defender either, but what he does give you that Grayson Allen doesn't, a guy who can put the ball on the floor and just be a better creator. Allen and a second rounder for Alec Burks. I'm not sure what draft compensation you'd have to improve. I might hold on to Grayson Allen, but I don't hate Alec Burks as a scoring option coming in off the bench, which the Bucks do kind of need. Toad French, do teams shy away from trading with Danny Ainge because of how lopsided his trades are? I don't think so. I mean, Danny Ainge has fleeced some teams. I mean, he fleeced the Sixers when he played that good buff to let or make the Sixers think that, you know, they were going to take Markelle Fultz. The Sixers moved up and traded away a pick to take Fultz, and then the Celtics went back to 3 and they drafted Jason Tatum because they knew that Lonzo Ball was going to go number 2. You know, we acquired Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen. That was a really good trade. So he's made good trades, but that's to his credit, right? And we'll see what happens with Donovan Mitchell. Stacking 56, stacking that cash. Should the Lakers trade for Malik Beasley? This is a rumor that was out there that I saw. Malik Beasley is a solid player. There was this run with Minnesota after he got traded to the Twin Cities where for about a 50-game stretch over 2 years, he was averaging around 20 points per game. Really good athlete, long, can jump, good leaper, has a really quick three-point shot, gets a lot of lift on his three-pointers as well. When you look and talk about the Lakers, what they miss right now, youth, athleticism, shot making, outside shooting as well. Malik Beasley could fill those roles. Now, what do you give up? Talen Horton-Tucker, Kendrick Nunn. That's been the problem with Los Angeles. And would you fork over a first-round pick for Malik Beasley? I don't know if I'd do that if I'm Rob Pelinka. Speaking of the Lake Show, how many games do you think the Lakers are going to win this upcoming season? That roster certainly has some holes, but let us know how many games you think the Lakers are going to win. Luke Luna, Mitchell isn't going to be traded unless we are obvious winners and interest and fleece a team. We are retooling unless the mentioned happens. If it does, then it's rebuild. We're still good without Rudy. Luke Luna, going every which way with this. Yeah, look, if they decide to completely rebuild, you trade away Donovan Mitchell, and you get some really good picks back. You already traded Rudy Gobert. I thought what you got as far as the value of that, like 5-6 first-round picks, was pretty solid. Donovan Mitchell can get you a lot back as well. If you plan on hitting the reset button and Danny Ainge wants to put his fingerprints all across this entire organization, then you do trade away D-Mitch. If you want to rebuild with him, you have to sell him on that rebuild because he might be unhappy because this is a guy who in the playoffs, his numbers better than in the regular season. He loves that stage. LAC9, if you swap KD and LeBron, would the Nets and Lakers swap places on your power rankings? I think both teams, the Lakers would definitely climb up, and there's no question the Nets would fall down. I've never been, if you swap, I was thinking Anthony Davis. So if LeBron is on the Nets and KD is on the Lakers, would I swap them in my power rankings? I don't know. Producer Coop, what do you think about that? Like, do you think it moves? Does it really change either team?
I think it moves the Nets up a little bit because I still think LeBron's amazing.
Okay.
However, KD going to the Lakers, I don't think it changed a lot because that roster still sucks.
Yeah, it's not that good, especially if you have Russell Westbrook. Like, outside of what is now LeBron and AD, like, they're starting five. It is not that good. Like, are they going to start Lonnie Walker and Damian Jones with Thomas Bryant? That's the reality with the Lakers. Now, LeBron is still playing at an MVP caliber level, but I'm not sure that KD, like, LeBron is more valuable, in my opinion, right now than KD. I think that he helps your championship chances better because he's done it more consistently than KD. So I don't know if KD makes the Lakers better. I think LeBron makes the Nets better. There's no question about that, which is why Coop said the Nets would go up. If you missed our power rankings, they're on the channel right now. We are also on Rumble. Make sure you give us a follow over there as we continue to grow to the platforms that you use. It's rumble.com/NBA now for free, uncensored, unfiltered content. Hey, rumble.com/NBA now. That's where it's at. Roger Federer is watching. The Mavs should bring back and sign JJ Barea. Now, what's funny is that this week he announced his retirement, but as a backup point guard, third option, coming in off the bench, a guy who knows Dallas really well. He's beloved by the fan base, maybe, but I'm just not sure he can really play any longer. Jake Turtle. John Stamos knew the Warriors would win. You think they would go back-to-back, or they will go back-to-back? They have the talent, they have the roster, they have the coaching and the general manager to go back-to-back, and if they want to make a trade to upgrade the roster, they have pieces in which they can use to upgrade the roster. So I think a matchup in the finals against the Bucks would be problematic. In the West, Clippers could be a tough matchup. Nuggets will improve. Suns are always really good. Dallas Mavericks led by Luka. Portland Trailblazers are going to improve. Lakers, if they change the roster and improve it a little bit, things are going to be interesting in the West, but I'm going with the Warriors because that's the dynasty of this generation. Jeff Stamps, do you think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander gets traded this year? I could see the Thunder trying to capitalize on his trade value since they have Josh Giddey. I love Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey is so much fun to play. He's a great competitor. He does everything at a really high level. I'm not sure he has an elite trait outside of passing, but his passing ability, I said during draft night 2 years ago, reminds me of Ben Simmons. It really is special, especially at that size. Has to become a more consistent three-point shooter, but yeah, moving forward, are both of them going to play point guard? How do you play both together? You could use one of them and take advantage of their respective trade value. I think SGA is a stud, though. I think Giddey's a stud. See if it works, and then come the NBA trade deadline, depending on how the Thunder are playing and where they're at in the standings and what their timeline is under Sam Presti, then maybe you think about a deal. But I'm always a fan of trying to make it work with really good players. Will OKC be a playoff team this upcoming season? That's pretty lofty, but if you think they are going to be in the big dance, type P for playoffs, L for lottery. Sam with this one, will John Collins get traded? If so, where and what can the Hawks get back? John Collins is a solid player. He's actually on a pretty decent deal. He got that deal last year, which pays him between $20 and $25 million. I forget exactly what he's getting paid. But for a player who can give you 15 to 20 points per game, block shots, throw down some oops, play some good defense, insane athlete, offer some value. You can get some picks back. You can get some solid players back. Just curious what the Hawks' plan is. They traded away 2 shooters in Gallinari as well as Kevin Huerter. I understand that, you bring in DeJounte Murray, and that's awesome and all. Does it mean that they want to play DeAndre Hunter a little bit more, who's a good young player? Maybe, but I'm just confused by what the Hawks are doing. They could look to trade away John Collins as well. Mason Gunnarsson, who would you say are the top 10 players in the NBA? Good timing with this question because I just got together with producer Coop just for fun, and I just wanted to put together my top 10 list of NBA players. Last year I did the same, and the list has changed dramatically from a year ago. So these are my current top 10 players in the NBA. I'm going Giannis 1 because I think in a playoff series, nobody can stop him. He's the most physically dominant, and somehow he continues to get better and better year after year, and he's the best player on both ends who nobody in the league can really stop. And number 2, it's Steph Curry. Some people might argue that. How do you argue it when he's won 4 championships, tied with LeBron James, just won his first NBA Finals MVP, probably should be 2, and in the playoff series, he can be your go-to guy, bail you out offensively, great leader, underrated defensive player, and in the NBA Finals, if it weren't for him, the Warriors would have been cooked. Number 3, Kevin Durant, still elite. LeBron James last year could have won the scoring title if he didn't miss more time. He was right there with Joel Embiid. Luka Doncic, bona fide number 5 guy. No team wants to see him in a playoff series. Just led the Mavericks to the Western Conference Finals. He's a problem, and if he's in better shape, look out. Number 6, Joel Embiid. I think he's better than the Joker. I understand that the Joker has won back-to-back MVPs, and Embiid has finished second both years, but I think that Embiid is more dominant. Kawhi Leonard at number 8. He's missed a lot of time with injuries. He could be higher, but he's lower on this list because of those injuries. But he was playing at such a great level before that partially torn ACL in the playoffs 2 years ago. If he doesn't go down, like the Clippers could have won the NBA championship. At number 9, Jimmy Butler. Yes, in the regular season, his numbers are down. In the playoffs, though, this guy is one of the best big game performers, and I think he's maybe the most underrated player in the NBA. And sneaking in at number 10, edging out Jason Tatum, is Ja Morant. Injury concerns with him moving forward, a little bit of a concern. The consistency of Jason Tatum might be more, but Ja Morant, he has so much upside and so much potential. That is my top 10 list. Let me know what you think of it in the comment section. Rakeem Sports, what's good, man? Welcome back to the show. Where does Dwight Howard end up? I said the Utah Jazz. That doesn't make sense. I think that Dwight Howard is going to latch on with the playoff team if he can. Does he go back to the Sixers to back up Joel Embiid once more? Maybe. Dwight Howard should have a market. He's a good backup player. Rumpel, I'm not even going to say the last name. It's very interesting. Cavaliers fan, it looks like. Will Collin Sexton be traded before the trade deadline? Will he go back to the Cavaliers? Like, how are teams not investing and making calls on Collin Sexton, who can give you really solid guard play offensively and average about 20, 24 points per game? Sexton, he's become underrated and under-talked about. I think he's a really solid player. His lack of value throughout this offseason has really shocked me. Now, I think the Cavs might bring him back to see if him and Garland work, because if they do, that's a problem in the East for other teams. If it doesn't work out, then yeah, you trade him away and you get some really good value back to continue to surround Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and some of the other good pieces on that team. Before we wrap up this mailbag, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. By doing so, you stay in the know with all things NBA, NFL, and college football with multiple videos per day, and you get to join in on our mailbags, youtube.com/chatsportstv, or just hit that red sub button.